He was the new kid, quiet, keeping to himself, just trying to survive school. But when the bullies started picking on him, they didn't know who they were messing with. What began as taunts and shoves quickly spiraled into something far darker. No one expected the fight that was about to erupt, or the truth buried beneath his silence. This wasn't just another story of schoolyard cruelty. It was a battle for respect, identity, and survival in a world that wasn't ready for him. What happens when the bullied becomes the fiercest fighter? Marcus had just moved to a new town with his family, hoping for a fresh start. At school, he kept his head down, focused on his grades and staying out of trouble. Basketball was his escape, a place where he felt strong and in control. His teachers noticed his quiet determination, and a few classmates had even started to warm up to him. But beneath that calm surface, Marcus carried the weight of being the only black student in a mostly white school, a reality that made him stand apart in ways he hadn't expected. The whispers, the stares, they were subtle but constant, like shadows lurking just beyond the daylight. Marcus knew things wouldn't be easy here. What he didn't expect was how soon those shadows would turn into something much darker. The bullying started. Small snide remarks in the hallways, stolen lunch trays, sideways glances loaded with contempt. At first, Marcus tried to ignore it, telling himself that it was just part of being the new kid. But the taunts grew louder, more aggressive. Whispers followed him like a dark cloud, painting him as an outsider in a school where he already felt invisible. One afternoon, as the last bell rang, Marcus grabbed his backpack and headed toward the locker room. A group of boys, faces twisted with sneers, blocked his path. They didn't say a word at first, just stared, their eyes heavy with unspoken threats. Then one stepped forward, shoving Marcus hard enough to knock him back against the lockers. Laughter erupted from the crowd. But Marcus felt something rise inside him, a fierce, raw anger he'd never allowed himself to show. Days turned into weeks and the harassment worsened. Graffiti appeared on bathroom walls, cruel words scrawled in Sharpie, targeting his skin color and heritage. The teachers pretended not to see. Marcus's parents pleaded with the school to intervene, but their calls seemed to vanish into empty promises. One afternoon, walking home through a quiet street lined with autumn trees, Marcus heard footsteps behind him. Slow, deliberate. He quickened his pace, heart pounding not just from fear, but from the weight of every insult he'd swallowed, every sneer he'd endured. When the footsteps matched his speed, he dared a glance over his shoulder. It was one of the boys, grinning like he owned the street. Marcus's mind raced. Should he keep walking? Should he turn and confront the kid? But before he could decide, the boy lunged, grabbing Marcus's jacket and pulling him into a dark alley. The air thickened with tension, every sound amplified in the narrow space. Marcus's body tensed, every muscle ready. But beneath the fear was something else, a hardened resolve. He wasn't going to be a victim anymore. What happened next changed everything, not just for Marcus, but for the entire school. The boy who thought he could break Marcus had no idea he was about to face a force far stronger than the cruelty he had dealt. The alley was tight, shadows pressing in like a noose. Marcus's heart pounded not just from fear, but from a fierce determination that had been building inside him for weeks. The boy who had cornered him sneered, ready to make Marcus pay for standing out, for being different. Then Marcus struck, not with wild punches or desperate flailing, but with the precision of someone who had fought back against every insult, every shove, every whispered threat. The air exploded with the sound of a scuffle, fists against flesh, grunts of effort, the sharp scrape of shoes against concrete. For a moment, time slowed. Marcus wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting against every stereotype that tried to cage him, every silent judgment that weighed on his shoulders. The boy faltered, shock breaking through his cruelty. Others gathered at the alley's mouth, whispers growing into shocked gasps. But the fight wasn't just physical, it was a battle for dignity in a place where Marcus had felt unseen, unheard, and underestimated. His breath came hard, his body bruised, but his spirit unbroken. As the crowd closed in, the tension shattered like glass. Marcus stood tall, no longer the quiet new kid, but a force that refused to be ignored. The boy who had bullied him now faced the consequence of underestimating a survivor. In that moment, Marcus realized something. This fight was never just about schoolyard cruelty. It was about claiming space in a world that too often tries to push him down. What would happen next wasn't just Marcus's story. It was a challenge to everyone watching. How far would you go to stand up for who you are? After the fight, the school was never the same. Marcus's defiance sparked whispers that grew into conversations, some uncomfortable, others hopeful. The bullies backed off, but the real battle had just begun. Teachers and administrators could no longer ignore the silent undercurrent of racism that had shaped Marcus's experience. His courage forced a spotlight on a system that often turns a blind eye to injustice. For Marcus, the scars ran deeper than bruises. He had fought not just for respect, but for his identity in a world that tried to erase it. That day changed how he saw himself and how others saw him. It was a painful reminder that sometimes standing up means risking everything, but it was also proof that strength isn't just physical. It's the will to be seen and heard. Marcus's story is more than a fight in an alley. It's a reflection of countless others who face discrimination daily, who battle invisible wars fueled by prejudice and fear. It challenges us all to ask, how many more silent struggles will go unnoticed? How long will we let these shadows persist in our schools, our communities, and our hearts? The real question is this: when will we decide enough is enough? When will we stop waiting for change and become the change?